Brought to you by Bowling Green Refrigeration, Heating and Cooling and Renegade Marine and Outdoor Center. With your host, Brian Webb. Also starring John Kirby and Sergeant J.D. Williams from Mohawk Outdoors. Josh Honecutt from Realtree Outdoors. Also made possible by Swagger Bipods, Gary Force Paint and Body Shop, J&K Used Cars on the Bypass. Segments in part by Big & J Long Range Attractants, our national sponsor, and Renegade Marine, also featuring Realtree's Michael Penley Small Game Recipes from Realtree Outdoors, Timber 2 Table Wild Game Recipes. Sponsored by Pabst Beef Jerky, fueling your outdoor lifestyle, and all phone interviews via the Line X of Bowling Green hotline. Get ready for all things outdoors. Here's your host, Brian Webb.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Southern Kentucky's Great Outdoors on the Line X Hotline. Line X Bedliners, Roger Gina over there on Louisville Road. We've got him, Michael Penley, Timber to Table, brought to you by Pabst Beef Jerky, the best in jerky. And I tell you what, they're making it right now. They're not slowing down. You can get that Grippo's premium beef jerky flavor that got married up with this absolutely delectable it's just the best on the market. We call it Pabst Perfection because it's high protein, low carb, all natural, keto friendly, and low fat. Just exactly what you want on the boat or in the blind with you this season coming up. And we're going to have a season. We're definitely going to have a season, and it's going to be fueling your outdoor lifestyle with Pabst Beef Jerky. Michael, man, I tell you what, a lot's happened since we talked to you last time.
Yes, it has. It might not be a bad time to stock up on beef jerky right now.
I did already.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Josh is sitting here, Honecutt, right here from Realtree, both of you guys. And, let's just talk about it. I mean, first of all, we're going to do our recipe here in a minute. But, what are some of the things that you're doing to roll with the punches, I guess, Josh? You and Michael, I mean, you guys are big-time hunters and everything's kind of got a little damper on it right now.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's unfortunate. But the thing is, turkey season's right around the corner. A lot of things are shutting down. Who knows for how long? Some people say a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Maybe perhaps longer. But one thing is for sure: you are not going to get the coronavirus in a forest full of wild turkeys. So, they're probably not going to cancel hunting seasons. I know they are closing down some of the some of the state parks. Yeah. The parks are remaining open, I think, as far as open to access. I think some of the offices are shutting down unless they've changed that recently. But, more than likely, they're not going to cancel hunting season. So who knows, even though we're dealing with a lot of troubling things right now, it might end up helping increase the number of hunters that go afield this year. What's your thoughts, Penley?
I absolutely think so. I mean, you and I, all of us have, a freezer full of meat right now, and not a lot of people can say that. So, that people start looking around and saying, hey, I need to be a little more self-sufficient. I need to be able to get my own meat. I need to be able to grow a garden and can the vegetables to have those throughout the rest of the year. If anything, this might teach people to be just a little more self-sufficient and kind of get to where they can take care of themselves a little better.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Absolutely, and it may, we've been talking a lot, especially, you and I were part of the outdoor industry media, and the outdoor industry media for the last several years, even longer than that, but especially the last 3 to 4 to 5 years, have been talking about hunter numbers and hunter recruitment and how the numbers are declining. We don't have as many hunters as we used to. We're down several million. This event might just spark some interest in hunting, in new hunters and recruiting new hunters, as you said, being self-sufficient, self-reliant. And it might even open up some people's eyes as to the necessity of hunting. And, it might just change some opinions.
Absolutely. I've already had a few people reach out to me, and people that wouldn't normally hunt. But they're kind of interested now. It's already happening. So the longer this thing goes, I think the more it's, like you say, it's going to open people's eyes.
Absolutely. And it might just, we talked about this with Jeremy earlier. and a lot of industries are going to take a hit from this, especially as we slide into a recession. But, the hunting industry might not. It might hurt in the initial stages of it because they're shutting down shipping and transportations and closing doors and all that stuff. But as far as the end game goes, it might actually end up helping the hunting industry. You just never know for sure, but it seems like it has the potential.
Good point.
Yeah, I think so, too. I've noticed that gun sales are up nationwide right now. Ammo sales are up. Ammo's flying off the shelves again, where people are stocking up a little bit, and I do think that in the long run it might actually help hunter numbers a little bit. So at least we could maybe see a silver lining with it.
Right.
That's a great point both you guys are alluding to and enlightening some of us that may have not thought about that, and that's good stuff. But you're making me hungry talking about all that venison. What do are you going to do the corn venison Reuben? We already did that one, didn't we?
Well, yeah, we've done that one. We've talked about that one. We're going to talk about a technique today more than a recipe.
Okay.
And hopefully it won't ever get this bad, but, it might get to the point that we're cooking over campfires again on a regular basis.
You're talking Mad Max bad, aren't you?
Yeah. But everybody needs to have at least one or two Dutch ovens, and we still have power outages from time to time. I've been through a couple of ice storms that we were without power for a week or two. It never hurts to have a Dutch oven or two at the house and to know how to cook in them. Because you can cook just about anything. And today's Timber to Table post, we talk about how to bake in a Dutch oven, but not have all that mess. When I'm at camp, the last thing I want to do at deer camp, turkey camp, or just out camping with the family, the last thing I want to do is spend my time scrubbing dishes. And the Dutch oven, if you cook something like a cake or bake a cobbler or something in the Dutch oven, it can take a while to clean that, especially, cold water over a campfire, having to heat the water up and everything. It takes a little bit to clean them up. So anything we can do to lessen the mess makes cooking in them that much easier. And one way you can do that is to use a smaller pan inside the Dutch oven. And we use these little nonstick aluminum round baking dishes. They're about 2 or 3 inches deep. And they're about an inch smaller than our 12-inch Dutch oven all the way around. So it's probably a 10-inch pan. And we'll put a metal trivet in the bottom of that Dutch oven, put whatever we're cooking in that separate pan, set it in the Dutch oven on top of that trivet, put the lid on, put the coals on top, and it bakes just like you would bake it in your oven at home that way. When you get done, you've got this little nonstick aluminum pan that wipes out with a paper towel, and it's a great way if you've got a big crowd of people at deer camp and you've only got 1 or 2 Dutch ovens. You can put that smaller pan inside, cook whatever you're cooking, take that out, put another smaller pan full of food in there, let it be cooking. You never have to cool your Dutch oven down that way. You can just keep turning the food out one pan after another without ever having to cool your Dutch oven off. And it's a good way to feed a crowd with 1 or 2 Dutch ovens, and like I say, it's a lot less mess to clean up when you're finished.
Man, that's good stuff. You talk about all these, these preppers and stuff. I mean, listen, there wasn't always electricity. There wasn't always municipalities. This is how people lived. We've talked about it many times, reverberated in this show, Michael. And you know what? It kind of makes you think we could not be far from that. That could happen. And if you're not prepared, I mean, my goodness, it's going to be a lot worse than 70 deep at Costco looking for toilet paper. I mean,
yeah. I mean, like I say, if nothing else, this might open people's eyes. That it's good to have a little bit of knowledge about how to take care of yourself if some of our everyday conveniences are suddenly not there anymore.
Absolutely, and a little TP pro tip for everybody out there who's low on their supply. Don't go to Walmart and Costco. They've all sold out because that's where everybody's going. You got to go to the smaller stores.
Yes.
The little Dollar Generals out in the country are still stocked.
My wife said the same thing last night, Josh. That is smart. And I mean, even some of these, I don't eat a lot of Asian food or that, but I mean, some of those places get rice and get other things that's running out at some of these big stores. I mean, go support those people. You know?
And your local businesses,
and they're
too.
local. Yeah,
and that's something too in this time where a lot of people are closing their doors. Absolutely support local businesses, because the local businesses, the small businesses, are the ones that's going to get hit hardest by this deal.
Definitely.
And if there's any way at all that you can continue to support local businesses during this tough time, definitely do so. Because it's a lot of these bigger corporations they're gonna make it, but the smaller ones aren't. The small businesses, the local businesses, they're not. Much less likely to make it through this, especially if it continues and goes weeks and weeks and months and months.
Well said. I've got a lot of friends in the restaurant industry across this state and several other states, and they're going to be hurting right now. I'm urging everybody I know, go ahead, if they're still doing takeout, order takeout for your family.
Do it.
If you don't order takeout, stop in and buy a gift card.
Exactly.
So that you can use it when they open back up.
Yes.
But if we don't support them, a lot of these places won't be there when this is over.
That's
they won't be able to open back up. So
that's right.
If you really enjoy a place, take care of them now, so they'll be there to take care of you down the road. So,
amen, my friend. Well said.
Something that my mother, I'll commend her. She had a hair appointment. Of course, they're shutting down the hair salons.
Affects my family.
Right? Yeah, I know you're right there in there, Brian. But if you have a hair appointment that you had scheduled in the next little bit, go and pay them, even though you're not going to be able to get your hair done.
Great idea. Go back later and get the service.
And then go back later and get the service. That's something that my mother did. I'm gonna praise her for a second and give her kudos. But she wasn't going to be able to make her appointment because they were closing down the hair salons. But she went ahead and paid for her appointment.
Wow.
And that's something that we can think about. Because the economy is going to take a hit during this whole mess. It already is.
It already is.
And everybody just be smart. If you had something that you were going to pay for in the next few weeks, go ahead and do that. If you have the means to do so, go ahead and pay that. Go ahead and make that payment.
Get it into the system.
Get it in the system. That way the money keeps flowing, because if the money stops, the economy stops. That's and then true. Everybody's hurting, not just those that are directly affected.
Affects everybody. Guys, I can't thank both of you enough. Amazing points. Maybe the best interview we've ever had. And, just to be honest with you, if it gets any worse, and I don't think it's going to happen, but let's say it does get Mad Max, you're going to see 4 people from Bowling Green show up at your door, Penley. I hope you got a spot for it. I'll bring my pop-up.
There you go. We'll find some place for everybody.
Oh, you're the best, man. Well, listen, we'll talk to you next week if God willing. And, hey, just try to get through this thing just like everybody else. We're all in it together.
Yep.
All right, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. SOKY's Great Outdoors, 102.7.
You're going to need a bigger boat.
It's time to go fishing with Renegade Marine and Outdoor Center, 415 Commerce Drive, Litchfield, Kentucky, on SOKY's Great Outdoors.
Welcome back to Southern Kentucky's Great Outdoors. In this unsure time we're all living in, you can always assure that Renegade Marine and Outdoor Center's got your back, and John Newton knows what's up and what's going on. What's going on, John?
Not a whole lot today. We're sitting here, got lakes up, flooded again, just like last spring. Business is still as usual here at Renegade Marine. So if, people are out looking for a boat or needing information on boats, they can give me a holler down here at the shop, or they can swing in and holler at me down here at the store.
And they can also, if they can't get out, we can go to renegademarine.net, and they can converse with you guys there and get on the phone with you. And the world doesn't have to stop, does it, John, especially when you come to the outdoors. I wanted you to give us a little bit of an update because the Corps of Engineers released a statement, and I think it confused a lot of people that the lakes were closed, but you've got some information that there are some ramps, that sort of thing open. What's your take on that, John?
Well, yeah, the Corps originally had released and said that they were closing all the lakes down to public use, and they've readjusted it now. Primarily, most of what they're closing down is boat ramps with close proximity of campsites, pavilions, camping areas. Because of what CDC's put out, no more than 10 people, in a group at one time, it's kind of hindering some of the tournaments. I know one of our tournaments that we run up in the eastern part of Kentucky, they have actually shut down the entire facility, so the lake cannot be used until April the 11th. One of the things that I've talked with the Corps around here, the lakes will still be usable. You just kind of have to watch, call ahead before you go decide, well, I'm going to go put in at Laurel Branch at Rough River. Give the Army Corps of Engineers a call over at Rough River. Make sure that that ramp is still open and usable. Most of everything that I've seen, that I've talked with them, is going to be open, going to be able to be used, but there are a few of the ramps that will be shut down. So, it's a good, if you're going to make a day trip, it's good to plan ahead and give them a phone call. Make sure the ramp that you're wanting to go to will be open.
Yeah, it's good stuff right there. And this stuff can change on a minute's notice, John. I mean, I don't know how close to being out of the woods we are on this, but I was thinking this morning, I'm like, I wanted to ask you a couple things that were more serious pertaining to, these kind of things. And I wanted to, the interest rates have been different, kind of growing over the years, if you will, for boats and luxury outdoor stuff like that. Do you see the interest rates changing any, like the refi on the homes and all that stuff? Is this like a great time to get in there?
Yeah, it is actually a good time to get in if you're interested in a new boat or if you're interested in purchasing a new home. The Fed has cut the interest rate again, so it is almost as low as what it has been in the last 7 years. So, there is opportunity there if someone's still interested in purchasing a boat and financing it to get great rates. The rates did creep up, over the last year and a half, to where, average rates we were seeing was right around 5.95%. We are seeing some coming in a whole lot less than that. We've actually had a couple done at 5, a couple done at 4.99. So, I mean, and what a lot of people don't understand is your interest rates when you're purchasing a new boat or even purchasing a home, your interest rates are based upon your credit score. That is one of the most emphasis things that a lot of people don't really pay that much attention to, but your credit score is key when you're purchasing a car, a home, or a boat. You can go and buy a new truck or a new car and say, yeah, I got a great deal on it. But one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is boats, RVs, side-by-sides, these things are considered luxury items, not necessity items. Yeah. So unless you have a credit score of around 700 or better, most of the time in general you can't get qualified for a boat loan or an RV or a side-by-side loan.
That's hard to believe. And you know what? There's a lot of crappie and bass fishermen out there that would like to disagree on the necessity part of having their boat. You know what I'm saying?
I'll be honest with you, I have to disagree with them too. I feel in, my heart of hearts, that is a necessity item for me because, that's my release on the weekends to get out, get on the water, be with God and nature, and, just enjoy being the great outdoors that we have here in the United States.
Amen to that, my friend, and you couldn't have said it any better. And it's one of those things where a lot of people, John, I mean, they're out there catching, a lot of people eat 2 or 3 meals a week that come from the lake.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people survive on the fish that they catch, through the year, and then they will survive on, the deer, the rabbit, the squirrel. I mean, here in the States, we have the great outdoors. We are privileged to be a free country, which, some countries are not.
That's true.
But, that's one of the things that's, coming down now with this coronavirus that's, going around, popping around. We're hearing a lot of people grumbling, well, they're closing this down, they're closing that down. A lot of it's prevention. And, just like the CDC's coming out and saying, your biggest prevention is wash your hands. Don't congregate in groups of more than 10. I watched a little article this morning. Don't, hard surfaces like wood surfaces, appliance surfaces.
Your
things
phone.
That are hard surfaces.
Your phone.
Yeah, your phone. Yeah, that's, and one of the biggest things that a lot of people don't understand about this, it does have a lot of flu-like symptoms. It can be deadlier than what the flu is.
Sure.
But as long as you take preventions to what you're doing, if you go fishing, you get outside with your buddy, just make sure to take some hand wipes with you. Wipe your hands down before you shake hands with somebody.
And notice,
other than that, that's about it.
Notice we didn't put rod and reels in there because ain't nobody touching my rod and reel. They get a nub back.
No. No, they get a nub shaking coming back. They start touching like the Nally Covert.
There you go. You don't want to be doing that. And I think all is going to depend on, how we get through this thing, how we come out on the other side of it, John. And those of us that are sensible and kind of carry life on as usual and listen to what the CDC's telling, listen to what the officials are telling us, follow the rules. And, we should be out of the woods in this thing in a few weeks. But I think it's going to be how they're going to judge us on how we did get through it individually. And, you see the panicking of some people, and then you see the common sense of some people, and that's just the world and America in general. It's going to be that way. But I'd like to tell everybody, keep your head up, smile, get through this thing. It's just another thing that we're going to go through, and we'll look back in history, and we'll be judged on how we handled it.
Yep, that is correct.
But when it comes to new boats, right now it's a pretty good time to get a boat.
Oh, yeah, right now it's a good time to come down. The lakes are coming up, and we've got a lot of boats that we had sold back at the Louisville Boat Show. They're getting ready to start coming in. We've had several boats picked up this week. I mean, we are still open for business.
Absolutely.
So if you need that fishing pole, you need that reel, you need the tackle, or you want to come in and look at a new boat.
Yeah, because most people kind of bored right now. I mean, just a trip up to Renegade might make you lift your spirits a little bit, get to handle some crankbaits and get ready for this season that we're all going to eventually get to have. And, we're looking forward to that for sure. But nobody does it better than Renegade Marine and Outdoor Center right off the Parkway there, 411 Commerce Drive. John Newton up there. Real quick before we go, John, tell me a little bit about the Renegade Tournament Circuit and what's going on with U.S. Bassin.
Renegade and USA Bassin, as of right now, we are still going to participate in our tournaments as we have been. We will take guidelines to when the guys get there, for registration purposes and, to meet what the CDC's saying. When you come in for registration, don't want more than 5 teams at a time at registration, and then, stay separated in your little 6-foot blocks. We can still do our tournaments, but we've got to take precautions too, because we do have a lot of elderly gentlemen and ladies that fish our tournament trails. Sure. We want to make sure that their safety and their health and wellness is just as equal as what the younger guys are. So, even when we're doing the weigh-in, no more than 3 people standing around the weigh-in site at one time once your fish is weighed. Because I do have PA system, you can hear me in the upper parking lot. So stand by your truck and wait, and then, if you win a check, we'll call you down and come back and get your money.
I hope nobody takes this wrong, but a lot of these older style folks and these outdoorsmen and women, we're kind of a little more level-headed than most. So, I mean, I'm glad you guys are doing that, because if there's anything we need in this country right now, it's a little bit of joy. And fishing is a lot of joy for a lot of people, and I want to see that continue. John Newton, always a pleasure. How can they get a hold of you, man, if they got some questions through this downtime?
Through this downtime, if they've got any questions, they can reach me through info@renegademarine.net, or they can call the shop at 270-259-0001. They can even call my direct number here at the shop, which is 270-971-4925, and they can reach me about any time.
John Newton, thank you so much, man, and keep Sherbert up there taking care of Big Sherb and Linda, and we'll be talking to y'all soon in the coming weeks. We'll all get through this thing together, buddy.
All right, bro. Y'all be careful, and we'll holler at you later, bud.
John Newton, Renegade Marine Outdoor Center, Southern Kentucky's Great Outdoors, 102.7 FM. Welcome back to Southern Kentucky's Great Outdoors here on the Big and J Swagger Hunting segment. And not only are we having the Big and J segment today, we've got Big and J on the Line X hotline. Got him right here, Jeremy Atkins, owner, inventor. What's up, buddy? How are you?
Oh, we're doing okay. We're riding the storm out.
Man, it is like that Journey song, Riding the Storm. We're all doing it.
Oh, yeah. It is.
Josh Honecutt's right here with us as well, Realtree Outdoors. And I mean, you guys, way more than me. I'm just a media guy, but you guys way more than myself are dealing with things that we've never dealt with, Jeremy. And you're a guy who owns a large company, and we'd love to get your thoughts on how are you guys handling it at Performance Plus?
Well, for starters, I mean, honestly, for starters, you got to have faith, and that's just if you got to believe that the Lord's looking out for you. All you got to do is do the best you can for yourself and have faith in Him. And then from there, as far as employee personnel, honestly, just be smart. As far as the effect on the industry, it's definitely going to have effects. I mean, there's definitely a fear factor for buyers in the retail world. If there's not money flowing through the economy, there may not be money coming in to purchase hunting products. People are gonna make sure their groceries are bought before they buy a new pack of broadheads. So I don't know. It's a lot of determining factors. There's a lot of things that are going to happen over the next couple 2-3 weeks that are really going to determine future for a lot of folks. And at the end of the day, you just got to keep your head down, be smart. We personally in Big and J world and Swagger world, we're running it thin. Everybody take it easy. Obviously there's no point in traveling. We really can't. So work most efficiently and effectively from home, from your laptop, from your office, setting up offices at home, and everybody just kind of family first, and then, do the best we can over this thing we call a phone and over this thing we call the internet. So where we're at.
Absolutely. Those are great sound words and a good transparent look into just your companies and can probably reverberate through other companies going through the same thing. And I was going to ask you, I mean, it's kind of like, you take away sports, which is a big, major part of this country's joy, and
sure.
That was hard. But, and I said early on, hey, until the casinos close or until, the lottery closes, I'm not getting too worried about it, but that stuff is happening. And
right.
And when you think about that, companies that, have a large amount of employees and have a big payroll to meet, if you've never been in business or don't know about business, it's a very tricky, slippery slope when you're talking about non-revenue times. And I was gonna ask you, Jeremy. I mean, are you guys trying to slow production a little, or to try to beat the curve? Because just like sports is going to come back. The need for broadheads, the need for Big and J, all that stuff is good. And some people are still stocking up. They're getting it right now. They're not letting it deter them. And that would be my message to everybody listening. Get your Big and J. Get ready, because there's going to be a deer season.
There's going to be a deer season because, you know what? Hunting is a passion. I've said it 1,000 times. There's old boys out there that their utility bill may not be getting paid. They might have their lights shut off. By golly, they're going to have a deer permit.
Well, I'll tell you, it's the deer hunters that's going to be in good shape if things get even worse, because we got freezers
Country
full of
boy
meat.
Can't survive, boy. There's a lot of truth to that one.
That's right. We can run a trot line and skin a buck. But
that's
right. From a business standpoint, of course, this recession, if it ends up, in fact, being a recession, which it probably will be, we're already in the midst of it. But, looking at the last one that happened in 2008, the hunting industry did not take as big of a hit during that recession as most industries did. In fact, a lot of hunting companies flourished during that period. Of course, this is a little bit different scenario because we weren't going on lockdown and threats of martial law and all that good stuff. But who knows? We'll see how it goes. Well, you don't know until you know, and right now we don't know. So, but hopefully it ends up being a little bit better than we think it will be.
I mean, do you think that's the biggest point, is the unknown, Jeremy?
I think it is. I totally think it is. I mean, for crying out loud, I mean, if you get on the social media right now, one post that a guy reads says, if you get it, it's like a bad flu. And the next person says, heck, it didn't even affect me. Nobody really knows, I mean, it's big pending factors, I mean, there's so much fear factor out there, and I will bite my tongue on some of my feelings about things that have been expressed and sent out to the public. But at the end of the day, if it is really this bad, then there needs to be precautions taken, for certain. But at the end of the day, people just need to be smart, do the best thing they can, and like I said, have faith.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Absolutely. It kind of makes you think about a lot of the scripture that's available in the Bible, talking about uncertain times and comparing our big God to the big problems that we have. So good spoken words there. You just never know, but we can always have faith in Him, no doubt.
That's exactly right.
Great message.
Exactly right.
Great message. Well,
you talked earlier about 2008. The last time, that is actually the year that Big and J was born.
Wow.
And I'll never forget it. Like, I had so many folks come to me and they were like, holy cow, you picked a bad time to start this up. And I'm like, well, for some reason we're going right now. And,
That's right.
Well, we're here. We've made it. The reason I say keep the faith is because if I didn't have the faith, guys, I don't know how I'd sleep. I mean, in the beginning years of Big and J, the money I was spending and the direction I was going in this country bumpkin over here on this end of the phone didn't hardly know how to book a plane ticket when Big and J started. So it really was. It was, Lord, I don't know what you're doing, but
oh, man.
I'm ready. Let's go. And that's never changed. And yeah. I think we're going to be fine. I think there's going to be some heartaches out there. God bless the people that are going through hardships, but at the end of the day, it's in His hands, and you just got to do the best you can. And God gave you a brain, so use it.
Yeah, there you go. Wash your hands. I think we're going to come out of this though stronger than we were before, Jeremy. Don't you?
That's right. I do too. You know what? If nothing else, maybe folks are going to become tighter knit at home. Maybe they're going to realize, heck, there's stuff we can do besides go to these public places. We can, and realize what you had. Take appreciation. Just look at where we were 10 days ago, and I bet you everybody, my kids have literally said, I want to go back to school. They're going to appreciate getting to go back to school when this thing is over.
You're right.
Things like that. We're going to be able to appreciate shaking a hand again. Simple things. So
it's always important to look for that silver lining in things. And it's interesting. I've been out driving around the last couple of days running some errands that I need to get done, and I've never seen more kids out playing in yards and on swing sets. Who knows? Hopefully this ends up being nowhere near as bad as they expect it to be. But in the end, it may serve as a great reset, if nothing else. And hopefully, we can find the positives in a world full of negatives. But something else that's good is I'd say there's a whole lot more people praying these last couple of weeks than they ever have, or at least in the modern history, and that's not a terrible thing either.
No, that's not.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, hopefully it's not as bad as they say it's going to be, and it's blown way out of proportion. We'll see soon enough. But time will tell. Yeah,
but turn it over to him, Jeremy. You're exactly right. Put it in the big man's hands, and he's never going to go wrong. He's never going to lead us wrong, and that's a great message. Before we go, tell us about some. I know the aerosol came out last year, seemed to have been a hit. Anything that we were going to roll out, or is there anything cool from Swagger or Big and J that you'd like to tell the audience?
I'd honestly, let's talk about Swagger for a second. Swagger came out with the QD. I don't know if you've seen that yet. It's the quick detach. Okay, it now has basically a bracket that attaches to a swivel stud of your shotguns, of your crossbows, everything else, and very versatile to where weaponry that it could not attach to previously, you now have the benefits, the effectiveness, the mobility of the legs of the traditional Swagger for your shotgun. So for you turkey hunters out there, this thing is the cat's meow. When you're done with it, you push in the tab button, comes right off the front of your shotgun, throw in your turkey pack. And for you dads out there, I can't beat it into people's heads enough. If you've got youngins that can't quite hold the front end of that shotgun steady because of the weight, or their rifle, and like that, that is what the Swagger bipod is designed for. I mean, it is great for hunters, your hardcore hunters, your mountainous hunters, your predator hunters. Yeah, the Swagger, it's just different. Until you use it, you just don't quite get it probably. But for your kids, and being able to raise, lower the front end of that shotgun, and then have to just handle the back end of that gun, it's the cat's meow. It really is.
And those kids are more likely to hit that turkey,
Absolutely. I mean, my 55-pound 9-year-old daughter last spring killed a turkey with a single-shot 410, and I will promise you she cannot hold the front end of that gun on her own.
Wow.
So, I mean, she didn't kill that turkey one for that Swagger. So.
That's a great product. And, yeah, John, we were teased up that you were going to come on last week, and John just went right into talking about that exact product and just how revolutionary it is. And it's all because they've been wanting something for shotguns for a long time. And, you just hit the nail on the head right there. So that's a great product coming out of Swagger. And you can check that out, SwaggerBipods.com. You want to get on SwaggerBipods.com and see that as well as Big and J. .com and those things. Josh, did you have something for Jeremy before we let him get back to doing his thing?
Yeah, in this tough time where people aren't necessarily getting out as much, where can they find your products online?
Online, pretty much. So Amazon is completely shut down besides Necessary Evil. So, we do sell direct. Other than that, if you're going to go in and get your milk, you can probably still get it at like your Walmarts or your Tractor Supplies and stuff like that.
Yep.
And this time of year, shelves aren't going to be stocked real heavy, and that's our biggest challenge going forward too. Is
I bet
we're gambling with the futures a little bit because we really don't know how big the orders are going to be now.
Yeah.
So we're basically just we're putting masks on and just filling the warehouse to the ceiling, and we'll just see how big the orders are.
Man.
So we don't know. It's a risk time, but
I hope all business owners are like you, Jeremy. I hope they're all like you, man.
Well, if you love what you're doing and you care about people, it should be pretty easy to be successful. So,
yeah, that's the biggest thing that we got to take away during this time is to keep your humanity.
Yeah.
Just take care of everybody around you. If you have the means to take care of somebody who needs something during this tough time, do so. Just keep your humanity about yourself, and always remember to put God first. And when you put God first, that means put other people first too. Love your brother, love your God. Those are the two biggest commandments that we've been given.
Absolutely. So. Love your neighbor. That sort of thing.
Exactly. And pray for everyone.
Pray for us all. Jeremy Atkins, man, it was an absolute honor and joy to have you on during this time, and we have you on throughout the year quite often. You're our sponsor, and we can't thank you enough. And especially through times like this, people are looking to people to give them good ideas and good thoughts, and I think we've done that today with Jeremy Atkins. Thank you so much, man.
Hey, thanks, fellas. I appreciate the time, and God bless everybody.
God bless you. We'll be right back on SOKY's Great Outdoors, ESPN 102.7. Welcome back to SOKY's Great Outdoors, Part 2 of Big and J Long Range Attractants Swagger Bipods Hunting segment. And we want to thank our sponsors like J&K Used Cars on the Bypass. A lot of these great businesses that are here in town that you want to definitely, you can get on their website if you get stuck at home, if you're looking for a new car, that sort of thing. We've all got ways to look at their inventory, which is great. Check them out, be part of everything that they do, and check them out when you need a ride. Josh, you got an interesting kind of topic, kind of goes with what's going on these days, but it pertains to the hunting. I can't wait to hear you unveil these things.
Yeah, I just recently published a deer blog on Realtree.com. I think it was yesterday. 5 deer hunting trends that make me sick. That's what we're talking about today. They include everything from disease to divisiveness, diminishing funds, and more threatening hunting topics as we know it. But everybody loves a positive trend, including deer hunters. And negative trends, not so much, unfortunately. There are some bad trends happening in deer hunting right now, including the ones that we're going to talk about here briefly. We might not like them, but we need to know about them. The first one is declining hunters, their money, and their votes. According to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, hunter numbers in 2016 were 11.5 million, down big time from the all-time high of 17 million hunters back in 1982. On the surface, it doesn't look terrible, but many of the hunters out there right now are baby boomers, and most of that generation will age out of hunting within the next 20 years, if not sooner. Once that occurs, hunter numbers could decline again by another 35%. Few hunters means less funding for conservation, both from hunting licenses sold and from Pittman Robertson funds gained from the excise taxes on firearms, ammunition, and other hunting gear. In 2006, hunting expenditures totaled $27.4 billion, but that decreased to $26 billion within 10 years. Fewer hunters means less hunting gear sold and fewer conservation dollars gained to conserve wildlife. If this problem persists, wildlife managers and state officials will have to find that money elsewhere, which means more non-consumptive outdoor activities must help cover the tab. With hunters making up less than 5% of the American population today, we're already relying on many non-hunters to retain our rights to go afield. It's not something that we want to do, is relinquishing our rights, our voting rights and decision-making rights as hunters over to the non-hunting, sector or percentage of the population. The good news is that, most non-hunters still approve of hunting, especially for consumptive purposes. I think the last statistics that I looked at were somewhere around 70% of Americans still approve of hunting. So even though we don't like, hunters comprise 5% of America's population, the good news is that 70%, over 70% still approve of it. So that's the main thing, and we are thankful as hunters because, again, for 5% of the population, you don't have much power. But we're thankful to all the non-hunters out there who still continue day in and day out to stand up for the rights that we personally enjoy in our hunting heritage. So even though we don't like having to rely on non-hunters to keep those rights, we certainly appreciate those who are willing to do so, who don't necessarily go outdoors and enjoy the hunting and the fishing that we do.
Absolutely, man. No, absolutely.
Another trend that is troublesome is the fact that a lot of new wildlife biologists today who are entering that industry are not hunters, and that's troubling. There are a lot of wildlife biologists out there who are working for state agencies, such as all the different state agencies you can think of. They aren't hunters. A lot of them, not all. Some of them still are, and probably the vast majority still are. But there are some new wildlife biologists out there, game managers, land managers, whatever their respective titles might be, that are not, in fact, hunters who have never hunted in their life.
As a hunter, Josh, does that make you feel like a lot of these guys may just be looking at the science part of this stuff and maybe not have that innate inner thought, thinking about the land, the animal, all that? Is that where you're going with that?
Yeah, and non-hunters who've never experienced the outdoors from the hunting perspective, they're starting to make management decisions for deer and deer hunters and other game animals that are out there. But even scarier, they're drafting and influencing hunting regulations. In most cases, there's likely little concern. But we do really don't want to have non-hunters making those decisions. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not saying that, it's a complete bad thing that a biologist isn't a hunter. But it's something that certainly sparks a little bit of concern.
I will say this, some of those guys are going to end up being hunters, though,
right,
being around it.
And that's a great point, and that's where I'm going with this next. I spoke with Nick Pinizzotto, who's the president and CEO of the National Deer Alliance, and he recognizes the concern but isn't entirely bothered by it. He says that I think it's great that people who have an interest in wildlife pursue that in their education and ultimately choose it as a profession. He said that at this year's Southeast Deer Study Group meeting in Auburn, Alabama, that he talked with 2 graduate students who are currently not hunters, but have a passion for wildlife management. Neither grew up in hunting families, and the primary reason that they've hunted or haven't hunted yet is because they haven't had the opportunity, either through being introduced or simply due to time constraints. They told me they told him, Mr. Pinizzotto, that they support hunting as a primary management tool and that they hope to become hunters someday. He thinks that we need to focus on being inclusive as opposed to immediately skeptical or concerned when a new wildlife professional isn't an experienced hunter. He sees it as an opportunity to eventually help them break into the sport when they become likely mentors themselves. He does acknowledge that there is some risk with this trend, though, but feels overall that it's not a huge concern. He says, will there be some who pursue wildlife management as a profession because they are opposed to hunting and somehow want to involve themselves with stopping it? Maybe, he said, but he believes it's going to be very few and a very small percentage of that crowd. He thinks that being a hunter can certainly be helpful as a wildlife management professional, but he said he doesn't think it's a prerequisite. He thinks that most that enter the field are still going to be level-minded, level-headed, and still approve of hunting, even if they aren't hunters themselves, which is a good point, but it is nonetheless still a troubling trend.
You'd have to be pretty vindictive to go through, 4 or 7 years of college.
Yeah, and not to say that, a lot.
But I guarantee you it's happening.
Right. Yeah, and I don't want it to sound like whenever I say that that's a concern, I'm not saying that every non-hunting wildlife biologist out there is out to get hunters, because that's definitely not what I'm saying. But it is a troubling concern that an increasing percentage of wildlife biologists aren't hunters themselves. So that is something to think about, something to just keep your eye on, and something to that will hopefully change, a statistic that will hopefully start going in the other way again.
Got it.
The next thing that we've got on our list and something that we've talked quite a bit about is chronic wasting disease, CWD. Prevalence increases. According to the CDC, CWD now ails whitetails in 24 states and 2 Canadian provinces. It was first discovered in captive Colorado herds in the late 1960s. By 1981, it had spread to wild deer. Nearly 40 years later, it's in 24 states and could easily inhabit areas it has not been detected yet. It's probably already in areas that have not been detected yet. It's basically pretty bad news for deer and deer hunters alike.
Man, I tell you what, and that's never going to go away, is it? I mean, like, hopefully, COVID-19 will run its course. It'll go away, but this is going to be around for a long time.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it's there's some striking correlations as far as some of the preemptive measures that we're taking. All this new term, social distancing. I was doing that before it was cool going to the tree stand. I'm a pretty big solitary figure myself. I'm not real social. I can be social, but I'm not that guy that goes out and hangs out in big crowds all the time just because I like it. I like people, but I like my solitude as well. So this whole social distancing thing hasn't really hit me too hard yet.
You're not feeling the brunt of that yet.
Not yet. Next thing on our list, the next trend is the epizootic hemorrhagic disease, EHD. The prevalency increase is I cannot speak today. The prevalency is continuing to increase with that disease as well. Here in Kentucky, we got hit hard by EHD in 2007, 2012, 2013, 2017, and 2019. A lot of deer herds took it on the chin. On the local level, deer populations in regions with repeat bouts in multiple years have really tanked. Deer populations are hurting in certain areas. Fortunately, here in the Barron County, Warren County area, we've more not hit too hard in 2019. Got hit a little bit in 2017. We really got hurt in 2007 and 2012. But yeah, so it's not just Kentucky though. A lot of states, Iowa, Illinois, Missouri, Kansas, Indiana, Ohio, many other states have experienced this in recent years. I spoke with Midwest Whitetails Bill Winke, who knows the pain of losing deer to this disease all too well. He says that we got creamed in 2012. EHD is a virus. It's carried by little bugs called midges. They live in muddy areas in years where the water is high and then recedes, or sometimes in drought years, you'll have mud flats all over the place. That's where these midges propagate. Each outbreak is different, and the mortality rate varies greatly. Deer that contract EHD and survive it obtain short-term immunities as well and can pass these on to offspring. Unfortunately, new strains of EHD continue to crop up. There's a lot of different strains, just like the flu virus.
Yeah.
The flu virus is very adaptive, very intuitive disease, and it adapts and it mutates. The same with EHD, apparently, because there are many different strains out there. And the problem is, even though deer become immune to it, they're only becoming immune to the strain that they are introduced to. What's weird about it is strains are showing up in places that they weren't previously located. And we don't know how they get there.
Yeah, how is that?
So it's interesting, but it's something that we're dealing with, or hunters and wildlife biologists alike. But it's something to think about. But either way, it's an ugly trend that continues to persist. And our final trend on the list is divisiveness among existing hunters. We've got to complete and finish and terminate all the infighting. Outdoorsmen are dealing with enough strife as it is.
True.
It's time we put aside insignificant feuds and focus on real issues. And if you don't know which ones those are, re-listen to this this talk we just had on iTunes. CWD is an excellent example of infighting. High fences versus free range and their respective relations to the movement of captive and wild cervids. Whether or not this disease is a true threat. Spoiler alert: CWD is a huge threat, though.
Yes.
How to combat it? All of these and more are hot button issues that rile people up. But the big thing, and we've talked about a lot on this show today, is remember your humanity. And just don't treat people bad. It's okay to disagree with someone. Have a civil conversation about it. Maybe you'll enlighten each other and you'll understand each side of the argument, so to speak. But definitely always remember your humanity and treat everyone with respect, because especially in a time like we're dealing right now with the whole COVID-19 outbreak, it's something that something we all need to remember is just to have faith in God and have faith in people.
Eloquently said by Josh Honecutt, Real Tree Outdoors. We miss John Kirby. He'll be back next week. Thank John Newton Thank Jeremy Atkins. What an unbelievably great interview that was, and Michael Penley keeping us all fed through this. Folks, keep your heads up, like Josh said, and love your neighbor. Love thy neighbor, and we'll get through this thing together. We'll see you next week, God permitting, on SOKY's Great Outdoors, ESPN 102.7.